This is a real-time tutorial of the full alphabet using a Tombow small nibbed brush pen. If you want to see how to use Crayola Super Tips or a regular marker or any pen to create faux calligraphy, check out my channel. I'll put the links in the description. I have real-time videos for those as well. Make sure to subscribe. I post 2 videos every week. We're going to go over some lettering basics. These aren't super important to know, they're just something to know. This is a baseline. This is an ascender where the loop is going above the line. This is a descender where it extends below the baseline. You have a mean line, this middle line, a downstroke, which is the thickest part of each letter, and an upstroke, which is always going to be the thinnest part of each letter. These are the most important to know. Upstroke is also known as a hairline, but most people say upstroke. And here is a cross stroke, which crosses the letter T. Like I said, these aren't super important to know. The most important part is to know your downstroke and your upstrokes. Downstroke is always thick and upstrokes are always thin. Let's go over some basic strokes. You can create any letter of the lowercase alphabet with these basic strokes. So I suggest writing these down, practicing these strokes. And if I want to make the letter D, I'm going to take an oval and an ascender loop and I'm going to create my D. So I'm going to do thin up, thick down, and when I go back up and I'm combining them, I'm picking up my pen and then I'm adding the ascender loop after I had completed the oval. If I want to do an H, I take the same ascender loop and a compound stroke and I combine the two to create an H. These aren't the only strokes you can do. There are many more strokes, but this is a great starting point. Definitely practice these drills. I'm doing thin upstrokes and thick downstrokes. And you want to gradually do it. You don't want to do it too harsh. So go ahead and hopefully you have a composition notebook, some type of lined paper, and you are going to kick back and practice with me. So go ahead and draw this little guide up at the top of your paper. So you just drill it in your head to make thin upstrokes, and I'm using very light pressure with my Tombow small nibbed brush pen. And now making a thick arrow to represent thick lines. If you don't get the hang of this right away, don't be hard on yourself. This is your starting point. You can only go up from here. You're gonna get better. And hopefully you're practicing with me right now. So you wanna hold your brush pen at a 45-degree angle, not straight up and down like this. I am a left-handy, so it's a little bit harder for us, but don't worry, we can still make beautiful lettering. I'm doing thin upstrokes and thick downstrokes, and you can go back in and go over the downstrokes to make it thicker if you didn't adjust your pressure correctly. I'm gonna go in and go over all of my downstrokes just to emphasize for you where the downstrokes are, because sometimes it might be hard to see. So I'm gonna go over all of my downstrokes just to make it very clear for you where all the downstrokes are supposed to be. And sometimes I mess up. Sometimes I don't adjust my pressure correctly and I have to go back in and add some thick lines. Nobody's perfect. You could do the first type of A, that's what I like to do. You could do a more closed off A. I'm going to show you 1 or 2 variations for each letter of the lowercase alphabet. I like to always put another composition notebook underneath my hand. That way I am more level with the composition notebook that I'm drawing on. So I'm not gonna talk too much during this video. I'm gonna cut out the mic, and if I have any little notes to say about any specific letters, I will give my input, but I'll just let you focus on this tutorial and just make sure to pay attention to where I'm adding in the downstrokes in case you don't realize where they are. And this third B was actually a mistake. There should be a space right here. So this third B is actually wrong. I didn't notice it when I filmed this, so I'm sorry for that. There should be a little space right there. All right, well, good luck and have fun practicing. I am so proud of you, and let me know if this video helped in the comments. Give it a like and make sure to subscribe and check out my bullet journal everything playlist and beginners playlist. I accidentally drew a G instead of a Q. My bad. Let's try this again. hopefully you stuck around and finished this entire alphabet. Now I'm going to give you a quick look at the entire alphabet we just did, and then we're going to move on to connecting your letters. When you're connecting your letters, the upstroke is supposed to be light and not too sharp, not too soft. Although you do what feels best for you and the look that you like. But I like to do it like this, and when you do an E, make sure it doesn't look like a baby L. Make sure you're pushing to the right. And we're stopping between each letter. So I stopped after the upstroke. After the E, I stop, I do an L, I stop, I do another L. And you stop between each letter. A lot of the videos you see online and Instagram are sped up, so it looks like people are drawing really fast, but in reality, you should take your time and do it in pencil first if you need to. This is an example of what it looks like when I'm not taking my time and I'm not pausing to connect my letters. This first hello, in my opinion, looks much better than the second one. The second one's sloppy. I didn't take my time. So just take your time and stop between each letter and practice, practice, practice. Now, this first hello, the base line is pretty much the same. The H went a tiny bit below, but the baseline is essentially the same, and I want to show you how to switch up your baseline. When I first started doing this, I kept going above the baseline and then above the baseline again, and it took me a little time to figure it out, but my method is to have a few below the baseline, maybe one or two at the baseline, and above the baseline. And if I go above the baseline, I make sure to bring it back down below the baseline. There's no really set rules for this, but this is what works for me, because if you just go above the baseline 2 or 3 times, it's just gonna look really off. And here I'm showing you that all the baselines are completely different. They're a little bit off, and I personally think this looks really pretty. So take your time, don't rush, grab your pencil and try making your letters bounce right now. I'm going to give you a little preview of what I used to do when I first started. I would start off so good, and then I would just keep bringing it way above the line, and I wasn't getting the bouncy look at all. So like I said before, you want to make sure some are below the baseline, some above, and some at the baseline. So I'm just going to redo the last 4 letters. So since I went a little bit below the baseline, I'm going to go a little above the baseline. And since I went above the baseline, I'm going to go back down below the baseline. So hopefully you're doing this with me, and we are going below the baseline. So now there's none at the baseline perfectly, so I'm going to bring it at the baseline, and then I'm going to go back up a little bit above the baseline. So that looks pretty good. Now it's time to go over it with your brush pen. I love the Tombow brush pen because you can erase instantly and there are no marks. And don't forget to lift your pen between each letter and to take your time. You're probably going to need to go even a little bit slower than me if you're brand new at brush lettering. It's a little bit foreign, but don't worry, with practice you are going to get so good, and I can't wait to see your work. This is a top beginner's mistake. A lot of people don't take their time and stop between each letter, resulting in a baby L for an E. It looks like an L, not an E, so that's just a common mistake I wanted to show you. And if you take your time and stop between each letter, you'll get a perfect looking E. If you want to learn how to draw with Crayola Super Tips. I have that real-time video on my channel as well. All you do is adjust your pressure while you're drawing the letter, so you do pretty much thin upstrokes, thick downstrokes, and you hold the Crayola Super Tip as a brush pen. So these are really inexpensive. They're super easy to work with. I use them all the time. They're very popular. So check that video, and I also have a faux calligraphy tutorial. You can use any regular pen or any marker, and I'm showing you that even on normal markers you can usually get a line variation, but in the tutorial I do use the same amount of pressure, and you just pretty much draw in the thick strokes for the entire alphabet. It's really easy to do. I have so much fun making these tutorials for you, so let me know how I could improve them, if I talk too much, talk too little. Thanks for hanging out, and I'm actually going to show you a few simple lettering styles that I use daily. They're very easy. I did show these in my Ultimate Beginner's Guide to Modern Calligraphy and Bullet Journaling, so feel free to skip over this if you've already seen it. I'm gonna have this at the end of my other real-time calligraphy videos as well. This is the sans serif, the first lettering style. Serif just means that you don't have the ticks on the letters, and a serif font means that you have those little ticks on the end of the letters. This third one is a lowercase alphabet, and this last one you could really change it up and use lines throughout the letters. You could do polka dots, stars, you could add little ticks on the ends of the letters. So I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe.